Today I will be going over the Chapter 11 SPSS exercises. So for question 1, the GSS 2010 contains a series of questions about the role of women at home and at work. It is very likely that the respondents to these questions vary by sex, or do they? So they want us to use SPSS to investigate the relationship between sex and FE child, which is, does it hurt a child for the mother to work? So create a bivariate table and asks for appropriate percentages and expected values. Does the table have a large number of cells with expected values less than 5, and are there any surprises in the data? So we go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Crosstabs, and we look for our variables. So sex is our independent variable. We'll throw that into columns. FE child is our dependent variable. We'll throw that into rows. We go here to cells. We click column percentages, hit OK, and then SPSS produces our bivariate table. The question then wants you to use SPSS to calculate the chi-square for the table, test the null hypothesis at the 0.05 significance level, and make your conclusion. And then after that, we're going to select another demographic variable, degree or class, and investigate its relationship with FE child. So in order to run the chi-square, we go back to our crosstabs, and we go up to this box that says statistics, and we click chi-square, and then we hit OK, or continue, and then OK. Now SPSS produces the same thing, only down here it gives us a box of our chi-square test results. So here we have our value, our degrees of freedom, and then here's our two-sided test. And then down here there's a little note, it's A, and this will tell us how many cells have expected counts less than 5. So we use all this information to draw our conclusion about the relationship between the independent and the dependent variable. Now in order to switch up our dependent variable, we just go back to crosstabs, get rid of sex, and we look for the other ones. I'm going to choose degree here, put it back into columns, hit OK, and so now we'll get the relationship between the respondent's level of education, which is up here, and whether or not they believe that the mother working doesn't hurt the children. Strongly agree, agree, disagree, or strongly agree. Then here are our chi-square values, degree of freedom, and our two-sided test. And then down here you'll notice it's changed a little bit. It says two cells have expected counts less than 5 this time. So using this information, we can draw our conclusions about the relationship between these two variables. For question 2, we're asked, is it better for a man to work and a woman to stay at home? Women and men were asked this question in the GSS 2010, so we're going to investigate the relationship between marital status and the responses to this question. And then we're going to have SPSS calculate the crosstabs of both variables along with a chi-square, and our alpha level is going to be 0.05, and then we're going to draw our conclusions based on what SPSS has told us. So we go to Analyze, Crosstabs. We'll hit Reset here, clear the fields. So then we go to marital, which is going to be our independent variable. We'll throw that into our columns. And then our dependent variable is going to be FE fam. Throw that into our rows. Go to statistics, click chi-square, hit continue. Cells, we'll get our column percentages, hit continue, hit OK, and then SPSS will produce our output. So here's our summary, here's our bivariate table, and then here are our chi-square results. So value, degrees of freedom, and our test. And down here we just have one cell that has the expected count less than 5. So taking all this information, we then draw our conclusion. For question 3, we'll be using the MTF dataset, so don't forget to switch that up. And this dataset includes teen attitudes towards different types of drug use, and alcohol, marijuana, weed, and cigarettes. So we're going to create bivariate tables with these drug variables along with demographic variables such as sex, race, or age. Then we'll have SPSS calculate the appropriate percentages and chi-squares. Our alpha level is going to be at 0.5 like the other ones. And then we're going to ask ourselves what relationship exists between your selected demographic variable and the attitudes towards trying these drugs. So we go to Descriptive Statistics, Crosstabs. Make sure in the MTF dataset. Our demographic variable, let's go ahead and use sex. Throw that into our column. And then for our dependent variable, we're going to start with AT drink. And then we're going to go to statistics, check chi-square, cells, column percentages, continue, OK. And then here we can see the relationship between a respondent's sex and whether or not they approve or disapprove of others trying alcoholic beverages. Here's our chi-square results down here, and as you can see we have 0 cells with expected counts less than 5. In order to change the dependent variable, we go back to crosstabs, we get rid of drink, we go to smoke, click OK, and then we run it again. And here we have our respondent sex like before, but our dependent variable has changed. Now it's whether or not someone approves or disapproves of smoking cigarettes. For the last one, we just go back to crosstabs, get rid of smoke, and we put in AT weed, click OK, and we get the same thing, only our dependent variable has changed to marijuana use. So we can then take this information that we've gotten from SPSS and draw our conclusion based on this output. Question 4 asks us to use the GSS 2010, so we're going to switch back to the other data set, to examine the relationship between the respondent's health and social class, and class will be treated as our independent variable. So we're going to request the appropriate measures of association to describe this relationship. So the appropriate measure at this point are the gamma and the Kendall's tau B. And then we're going to add sex as a control variable and calculate the association measure for each partial table. And we're going to ask ourselves, is the relationship stronger for men or women? And can you think of reasons why this might be so? And then the last part of the question asks us what other control variables may be appropriate. So we're going to continue to examine this relationship between health and class, and we're going to figure out another control variable. Alright, so when we're back in the GSS 2010, we go to our crosstabs procedure, and we look for our variables. So we're going to treat our class as our independent variable, so we'll throw that into columns. And then health is going to be our dependent variable, so we throw that into our rows. And then when we do statistics, we come over here to this ordinal box, and we're going to click gamma and Kendall's tau B, hit continue, go to our cells, get our column percentages, click continue, hit OK. And then here it will give us our Kendall's tau B and our gamma results. So here's all the information you'll need to answer this question. Now it wants us to add a control variable, and that control variable is going to be sex. So we go to descriptive statistics, crosstabs. We look for our control variable sex, and we add that to the layer column over here. We click OK, and now you'll see SPSS has broken up the output by male and female. And then down here, same thing, we've got our measures of Kendall and gamma, and they're broken up by male and female. So you're going to use this information to answer the question. It wants us also to select another demographic variable. So let's get rid of sex, and let's try marital status. Click it into here, hit OK, and we'll see as with marital status as our control variable, we've got married, widowed, divorced, separated, and never married. And then here's all of our outputs. So we take this information and we can use it to draw our conclusions about the two variables, health and social class. For our final question here, we're going to investigate the relationships between the abortion attitudes in GSS 2010, for example, ab-any, and various demographic variables, and you can use gender, age, race, any of those demographic variables. We go to Analyze, Crosstabs. We'll start with ab-any, put that in our rows, and then we'll choose sex as our independent variable, put that in our columns, go to Statistics, click gamma and Kendall's tau B, hit continue, and hit OK. So SPSS will produce our output right here for us. So we can do this with a variety of independent and dependent variables. The question wants you to investigate the relationships between these attitudes and various demographics. So just as an example, we'll do another one. You can also do, we'll get rid of ab-any, we'll go to ab-defect, and then we'll change sex to class. And since we've already set up the gamma and the Kendall's tau B test, we can just click OK. So here we are, we have the various opinions about people broken down by class and their opinion on whether or not A woman should have an abortion if there's a strong chance of serious defect. And then down here we have our appropriate measures, our Kendall's tau, and our gamma. So they want you to investigate various demographics and questions, and then write up a summary about what your findings have been. So thanks for watching. Again, if you have any questions or you want to meet with me, get some tutoring done, my hours are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock in Macumsey 119. And you can contact me via email and via text.